Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And this week, we're going to discuss a very interesting topic um, that is the art of selling without selling. A lot of people have this idea that this episode will be more related to salespeople, but sales and selling are not only related to the salespeople. Sales, although at the current time, like they have a bit of bad reputation because of some like people, like usually when they sell anything, it seems that they are always pushing and they are trying to sell whether the customer needs it or not. So they're trying to persuade their customer to buy their service or product which they may not even want. So this creates a sort of a friction, a resistance between people who are selling and who are buying. And that creates a negative sort of reputation of the sales and selling. And a lot of people actually consider that salespeople are more manipulative. They have this, they're always pressurizing others to, do something which they don't want. But we sometimes, when we look at sales, the entire process of selling the product or service or whatever, we need to see that, this is the process of selling is actually very much a part of our lives. Every moment in the life, we are telling someone about our ideas, convincing them about our, any concept or something like every time we are actually selling something to the other person. So that's how selling is somehow very much integral part of our daily lives. So in this episode, we're going to discuss that how selling can be is an integral part of our lives, and how can we make it in a smooth way and not look like as if it's manipulative or it's more pressurizing or it's more pushy. So that's why I have invited our guest today, who is an expert in this field. And our guest today is Shay Lynch. He is a business strategist. He has helped hundreds of companies around the world. He has vast experience of selling and Six Sigma, and he has transformed a lot of businesses and companies. And he supported on the side remotely and saving a lot of money for the clients by introducing right technique of selling. So let's welcome Shay Lynch. Hello, Shay. Thank you
Hello,
so much for
Ambreen.
being this today.
Lovely to be here. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining. It's an honor to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. And hello to all your audience that are saying hello and
Yeah.
lovely to meet you all.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And please uh, put your write down in the comments that where are you from. So maybe we'll just get in touch. So before we go into the discussion, I usually ask my guests to give us a little bit of introduction about themselves and tell us a little more about you. That why you came into this field and what struggles you faced.
Oh God, that's a long question, Ambreen.
Okay, maybe
Or long
like
answer, should I say?
yeah.
Well, I'll keep it as tight as I can.
Okay.
Well, like, what am I? I'm an engineer, right, by trade. I'm a process guy. I build systems, always build step by step, process by process, system by system. And then I got into an art called Lean Six Sigma, where it's not just about building the process, but how can you make it better? How can you do better things? How can you deliver better? Add more value to the customer all the time. And I did this for a very long time, and I did it with so many different elements of business and different sectors. So I had this great idea of setting up my own business back in 2007, the year before the crash. And my first, like, I did it with a business partner. He was the guy who was going to design and implement all their solutions. I was the guy that was going to get all the business. I had never done sales in my life before. And I remember sitting on my computer first day of January 2007, and looking at my computer going, what the hell do I do now? I had no idea what to do. And all I could do was think about my process. How could I build a sales process? And I did do some courses, and my dad, like, and to add to that, my dad was a jeweler. He had his own business, and I grew up in the trade with him, and he sold to people all the time. But I never really took notice of what he did. But why is that important to tell you? Because once I started building my step by step process, and I kept getting blocked or the phone hung up and all the no's and the rejections and all that, I started to realize it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. And that was a big eureka moment for me. And even doing the sales courses, one thing I noticed about my dad when he sold was that he never sold. He helped, he problem solved, and even said, look, if you're not happy with it, or if your partner's not happy with it, bring it in. We'll change it. There's no problem. He always made sure the customer was always super satisfied. He never sold anything to anyone they didn't want. He never sold it over and above in a price that he didn't feel was right for what he was giving. And I never realized how valuable those lessons were at the time because I wasn't really paying attention. But none of, like, even doing the sales courses and listening to people when they were taking notes, when the instructor or the facilitator would say something, and then I would be going, well, like, if you were a nice person, you would do that naturally. You shouldn't have to be taking these things down, because if you're a good person, these are the things you do because you want to help, you want to serve, and you want to make sure they're satisfied with everything you do. So over time, I started building what I called the value sales funnel. And it was a systematic funnel where I would only talk to somebody if I could add value to them even before the sale. It wasn't just about selling, it was helping them even before I got to sale. And that was the big thing that changed everything for me and Breen. I went from getting like 20% conversions to 70% conversions in a matter of months. And it transformed my business, it transformed my company and how I acted in that company. And then I was teaching, when I hired a sales team to do this work for me, I could teach them simple stuff that worked, not all these complicated jargon and things. I taught them how to be a really good person when they're selling to people. And that's how it stemmed. And then once I did it with my own business, as I said, I was saying before back in the studio, like I set that up before the crash, and then the crash happened, and I could have exited my business, but I decided not to. Myself, my business partner, really turned that business around, and we thrived during the crash of 2008. And once we got through that, I actually sold my part, because then I had a passion to help companies achieve what I did through a recession. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So that's my short, long answer to your question, Amberine.
Yeah, we actually had a very inspiring journey, I would say, especially like learning from your dad as
Mm,
like serving your customer in a right way. I think that's the main important part of selling, knowing your customer, and it's I think it's the attitude, like rather than selling, or it's we need to have the mindset change. We need to have the mindset that we are serving them, and when we
mm,
have this change of attitude, we are actually taking the role of understanding their needs and then serving them according to their needs. And I think that's the shift that helps us realize that selling is not always about pushing your products, and and then uh, just asking them to buy the product. It's not like that. It's
yeah.
just trying to figure out what do they need and how can we serve them better,
Yeah,
right?
and that's it, Ambreen, because like you said a word there, to serve. I always say when I'm teaching sales, your goal is not to get sales. Your goal is to serve. Your goal is to help. Your goal is to add value even before the sale, during the sale, after the sale. And then when you serve and add value, the consequence is business and
Yeah.
profits for you. It's not the goal, it's the consequence of you doing all the other stuff. And that is a mind shift change as well for people to think about. It's not selling, yes, it's important, but it's not the goal. And
Yeah.
once you change that, because when you sell right, multiple things happen then, because the hardest sale in the game is the one where you have to start from the beginning of the funnel, pick up that phone, generate leads, and bring them all the way through. When you do it really well by adding value before the sale, then when you get to sale and then you add value after the sale, you'll get repeat business first of all, and then over time they'll open up their network to you, so you'll get more business. And there, that's the most effective sales in the game. So by doing it right with ethics and values, you will actually do better in the long term.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, moving on to our discussion, I'll ask you that is there any techniques or like you use to find out that, or maybe like psychological ways, or to use some techniques to find out that how to serve them better, how to get to the needs of the customer?
Yeah, well, it's a really good point, and I mentioned this term called value before the sale, right?
Yeah,
And this again, coming going back to my lean principles, lean and Six Sigma is all about adding value. And again, people think lean is about like cost reductions. No, that's again a consequence. If you only add focus on value and do value activities to achieve value for your customer and forget about all the other activities, you will by consequence remove a lot of waste in your business or process, right? So it got me thinking about how could I add value before the sale? And I decided as a consultant, so this is just one example of how I figure things out. And I'd love your audience then to think about in their own environment how could they apply the same principles. Is that instead of me doing a sales meeting, okay, I would ring up a potential client and say, look, instead of me coming in and telling you what I can do and tell you how amazing I am, how about we do a small workshop? You bring in some stakeholders, you give me a problem, and we'll do a bit of a problem solving workshop. And then, at least if you're not interested, then we both got something out of it. You got to see me, you got some help from me. So we both got something. And what I didn't realize at the time, Ambreen, how good that was, right? I did it because I knew it was the right thing to do, right? But I didn't realize, first of all, I didn't just have one stakeholder in the meeting, I had multiple. So I had multiple potential clients if it's a big
yeah,
business. That's number one. Second of all, they got to see what I could do, not just me tell them. And then
yeah,
they could see if I was a good fit for them or not. But also, I could see if I wanted to work with them as well.
yeah,
So I would ask, I'd have these questions in my mind um, about that I may talk through the course of the workshop and get them out in the course of conversation. That would give me a good indication and a good feeling in my gut whether I should, yes, I want to do business or not, because then I have the power to walk away as well. And that was a very powerful thing for me in terms of only taking on business that I felt I could help people with and I felt they would be good for me too. Because here's the thing, like again, like sales should be first all about relationships, about
yeah,
relationship building and making sure that both have a part to play in that relationship. And I call it the win-win, Ambreen. You have to make sure you win for them and
yeah.
they win for you. If you win for them but they lose for you, or you lose for them, they win for you, that doesn't work. That will not work. You'll end up regretting the work either way. So it's important to ensure that you can go into a relationship for a sale, a piece of work where you know both parties will value this and get something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a wonderful point that you brought it here. That actually, what I would take from your discussion this here, that it's a mutual relationship. It's not
Mm,
something that they are picking up. Uh, they are looking for some, service provider. It's like, for example, if we are providing service, we are equally in the position to choose them as well. And it shouldn't be the one like they are the one that they are always choosing their service partners. It's
mm,
like we as a service provider also have the right and the ability to choose them, because as you mentioned that it should be a win-win situation. It's not something that it's always they have to they are the one who are dominating in the relationship. No, it doesn't work like that. It has to be mutually agreed relationship where both parties respect each other and have confidence over each other's capabilities. And that is the only way the relationship moves in a better direction. So I think this mutual relationship, it has to be really balanced, right?
And it does, Amber, but that takes time. That just doesn't happen.
Yes.
If you're a sales rep and you pick up a phone to have a meeting and then you just tell them about your fancy features and benefits, that's never going to work. Like you have to take
Yeah.
time out and build a relationship. Like
Yeah.
we were talking earlier on, to sell is human. We're always selling something, Amberine. We're selling our personalities. We're
Yes.
selling our values. We're selling our integrity. We're selling how we can help each other. We said all these things without realizing it. It's actually no different when it comes to in a formal environment where you're a sales rep for a company. It's the same principles. The only difference is the application. It's
Yes.
about being authentically you and like applying that in a way that you have to. And again, if you're just there to make money in sales, you're in the wrong game. You need to be there to build relationships and to serve and to problem solve and forget about putting your square product in their round hole requirements. They have to fit. You have to see, can you really solve their problems and then some, or if you can't, be honest and go, look, I can't solve your problem, but I think I know someone who can, and people
Yes.
will respect you for that. And then even if you start a piece of work and it's not going the right way, I've had to exit pieces of work because then I've realized that, look, I can't give you, I thought I could, but I can't. But I've organized someone else who I think will fit your
Yeah.
requirements better than me, because I'd rather not leave a bad taste in their mouth. I'd rather not have to a product like
Yeah.
or a project and then we both feel bitter for it
Yeah.
because we both
Yeah.
don't enjoy it.
That's absolute. And I think this is again a very important thing is that we need to focus on the relationship,
Mm.
and that's where I always see the application of the knowledge of psychology comes in, because whether it is like it's a B2B, B2C, or like any sort of business, it's always a human to human relationship. So
Mm.
like if we are even selling a product or something, like we may call them like customer, client, prospect, or whatever, but at the end of the day, whoever we are serving is actually a human being. That person has emotion. We shouldn't see that person as just a prospect or a client or a customer. We need to take that person as a whole personality. He could be a father, he could be a brother, he
Mm.
could be a son. So like he is also playing multiple roles. And when we actually look beyond this definition of prospect and customer, we try, then I think we are in a position to actually build a relationship. And that's where I feel that it comes that that's how the selling comes or applies in our daily lives. And that's how whenever we are talking to someone, even not necessarily we are selling a product or something, maybe like to our spouse or to our like mother or to anyone who are in like the informal relationship, somehow we are actually convincing them to give them like to share the idea, to give the concept. So that's how I feel it becomes the integral part of our daily lives. So
Yeah.
what are your views on that? How?
No, it is, and it is a part of that. And like I couldn't emphasize that more, Ambreen, about building relationships. And I'll give you one example. And again, I never realized with my dad when he was selling. If someone came into my dad's jewelry shop, right? The first question was, how was your day? How are you
Yeah.
getting on? And in Ireland, we have this thing, we talk about the weather a lot. It's just what we do, right? And so you may ask, are you enjoying the weather or the weather's terrible? And it's an icebreaker and you have a conversation, right? But here's the thing, my dad would keep talking and talking and talking to them until they said, look, I'm looking for something. Can you help me with this? And again, when I was doing sales courses, like it's like a psychological trick. And again, it can be used for good or bad, manipulative or for a reason. Whether don't don't push yourself on people and let them invite you in to
Yeah.
talk about your products because it's a different psychological thing happening then. If you're pushing your fancy features and benefits on them, and they don't may not want to listen to that until they say, look, can you help me with X, Y, and Z? Then you're invited in to talk. And it's the same, and I was going, my dad always did that. I never realized. And he didn't do it because he learned psychology. He did it because he was a nice person. He just wanted to help people and make sure they were comfortable in his environment. So that was a big one for me. And another principle was I would never meet anyone unless I could add value for them, because
Yeah.
again, I could meet them for my own company requirements and sales, but that was of no use to them, and then I was wasting their time. That I would only meet them if I could offer some value to them. So any touch point that you've created along your sales process or funnel, it'd only be when I could offer something to them for free or value, even before the sale. And I always say to people, like, there's at least 10 to 15 things that you can do as a salesperson to offer for free to you, whatever client base or market you're in. You can add value to them without looking for a sale. And once you can figure these out, you've got great reasons to contact people and offer genuine value. As I said, my favorite one for me was to do workshops with them, because then they'd really get to see my personality, my character, what I could do. And again, not everybody would like that, Ambreen, and that's okay. You're not there to please everyone. You're there to be authentically you and see, does that fit in with um their like business and culture and whatever. But the goal for me, the big principle, is always be problem solving, always offer help if you can, but never sell. Sell without selling. And again, as I said, if you're a nice human being and you want, these are the things you just think about it, like the principles for me. What would you do if you're a nice person? If you were going to a friend, I guarantee if you were trying to sell to a friend, you'd sell differently to a friend than you would a stranger, because you'd be helping your friend, not a stranger. And if you can apply the same principles, you would do the same thing.
Yeah, I actually love this brilliant tip about this. You know, like when your dad used to talk about different things and let the client or the other person open up, and that is when you find out what are their needs. And because you know that is very much applicable in our daily lives also. For example, even if I take the of my example as a mother, like telling my kids to do something, when I tell them to do them anything, they would never listen to me. But when they come and ask for help, they would willingly listen to me. So it's somehow it's I think the human psyche that, you know,
Mm,
when they will come to you for help, they would be more willing to form a relationship, rather than like we come to them and ask them to, you know, forcefully build a relationship. It will never work. It has to
mm,
be, as we mentioned, like, you know, as we initially discussed, that it has to be mutual
yeah.
relationship. Always, you know, there has to be a balance in this. It shouldn't be one sided, like maybe we are pushing them to build a relationship, or they are like working to find out, you know, to get the solution. It shouldn't be forcefully done. It has to be done in a natural flow. Like as you said, that, you know, when we go to help out our friend, it would be a completely different approach, you know, because we know that person, we know that we how we can serve them better, and that would
Mm,
what would be that person's need. And then we'll tailor our discussion or whatever this as per their needs, rather than, you know, just going them and like just read the same template to every other person, that okay, we have this feature,
mm,
this product. And they would never, first of all, it puts the other person off completely, that, you know, that person is just having giving us the same copy paste formula for everyone.
mm,
The second thing is that, you know, the person would feel offended that, you know, they are just only interested in selling their process, their
Yeah.
product or services. And it should never happen. I think that is one major resistance that, like, it creates a major resistance or friction between the relationship when the other person sees that, the other person is more manipulative or more
Mm.
pressurizing. So I think that's how, and uh, that friction can be resolved only through when we have this mindset of serving them and trying to understand their needs and help them better.
Yeah, no, that's so on point, Amberine, and it reminded me of a situation again when I started working for myself. And technically, I'm a business consultant or management consultant. And I remember I was going to these networking events in person when we could actually meet in person all those years ago. Um, and people would ask me, "What did I do?" And I said, "I'm a management consultant." And I could literally see their eyes go like that, like
Yeah,
either he's really boring or either he's going to try and sell me his
yeah,
services, right? And I saw, like, it was like a brick wall in front of me, like a noise proof. They just switched off completely.
yeah,
And it took me a long time to, well, I wouldn't say a long time, but I knew I had to figure something out. And like when I started playing around with some different ideas, again, I went back to, well, what do people want to hear? Like, it's not about me telling them I've got my elevator 30-second pitch that I spreel
yeah,
off. As you said, you can't be the same thing to everyone. I started saying things like, well, I give businesses back their time. And they would go, okay, that's interesting. How do you do that? Well, so I teach them what their value is in their business. And I said, do you know what your value is? And they go, well, we have this product or this feature, and they would struggle. And I said, see, that's what a lot of my customers struggle with. So I help them find out what their value is. And then by definition, we know all the value processes and steps in the process to achieve that value for the customers. But then we also know what's non-value. And then we look at developing strategies to eradicate or mitigate these non-value activities as best we can. So you only focus on your value, and that's how we give your business back your time.
yeah,
And they go, okay, wow, wow, wow. And then I asked them another question. And then when I give you back your time, what do you do with it? And
yeah,
then they go, and they go, well, look, this is where I really help. Once I create capacity in your business, I'll start working with your sales team so we can actually develop more sales. And then we drop more sales into your extra free capacity. So you're scaling your business without scaling your cost. And that's how I help companies. And then they go, well, look, I'd love to hear more. Would you like to have a coffee sometime? But again, it's me getting into a situation where I can actually honestly tell them how I can help companies like them and for them to listen because they ask me questions. I didn't push it on it. And then I'd
yeah,
ask them a question and then
yeah,
they go, okay, I don't know. And then I'd help them. And again, it invites good conversation as opposed to having this, I'm a management consultant, I can save you
yeah,
30% off your bottom line, I can create you whatever.
yeah.
No, it's not that. It's how you can have an open, honest conversation where people actually want to listen.
Yes, I think that's. In fact, I was reading the book "Psychology of Influence," and it's
Okay.
exactly
Yeah.
the same thing that is written in that book. And, when it was written that when you go to a situation, to any, to an event where you want to start a conversation, you don't start a conversation by introducing yourself, like, I'm a blah 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 this, because nobody would be interested in that. You need to find, like, sort of a, first of all, study like people, and then try to find out the, like, one problem where they would be interested
Mhm.
to listen to. So as you said, like, if there is, like, you said that, like, what are the values that your clients are, or maybe what are the values of the company, or whatever, like, the problem that may be at that time, or where the problem that the solution you can offer to, so you can talk about the problem rather than solution that you would be providing them. So once you engage their attention about the problem, and then you actually pitch in your services, and then you try to tell them that, okay, this is the problem, and then this is like your problem, and then this is how you come in and you can save them. So
Mm.
it's like, you build a conversation and you create an interest, uh, or you actually grab their interest and attention towards you. So it's
Yeah.
very much like that.
But
It's how
again,
our psychology works. Yeah.
it's like psychology. And by the way, I don't pretend to be a psychologist, Amberine.
No,
I
it's
like
it's the daily
I
thing. Yeah, it's
I know basics. I study some of it as a subject because I find it fascinating. The older I get, the more fascinated I am with it. But it's such a deep subject, and I have friends that are experts in it. And one of my friends, he's a leading authority in the world on neuro linguistic programming, LMP, NLP.
uh,
So I've learned a lot from him, but not even just about like psychology of other people and conversations, but the psychology of you, right? About making sure that you turn up to the situation the way you want to be turned up and the way you want people. So you can't just turn up into a situation and be in a bad mood and your shoulders
yeah,
shoved forward, hugged down like this. You have to make sure you're presenting your best self all the time. And what he taught me a lot about being able to do that, about why that's important, about people will see and hear through your voice and see through your body language what you're really like in the situation. And that not may be representative. That could be just a bad situation, but people will have this impression, and first impressions last sometimes. So if you don't present yourself right, you're not doing the conversation justice straight away.
yeah, very true. And it's like we are more than it's like words are just the mode of communication, but
Mm,
we are actually communicating more through our language or through our tone, through our body. So it's the communication is like the words, spoken words are only I think like 10% or something, but
mm,
this like the tone, the tonality, the vibes, the body language comes or conveys message better or in a more efficient way. Like if my words would not be in congruence with my body language, you will definitely get a different meaning of whatever I say. So
totally. And
yeah,
like it would build mistrust straight away, Amberine, especially
absolutely.
if you're talking about the sales environment again. If I see a misalignment between what you say and how you act, I don't trust you straight away as a salesperson, and I will never do business with you. you know
Yeah.
I may have a nice conversation with you and we may have a common interest in a sport, but I would never buy off you because you've just misaligned yourself. And that again is why, like, the best thing you can ever do is be authentically you. And again,
Yeah.
my friend has this quite great quote. His name is Owen Fitzpatrick, and he's got amazing books on the subject, but he has this great quote what I love, like, be more you and you more.
Oh, love it.
And you can say it backwards. You can say be you more and be more you. You can say it both ways. But
Yeah.
it's all about be authentically you.
Yeah.
And mostly for 99.99% of the population in the world, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they're mostly good people, right?
Yeah,
But be
absolutely.
you. Don't be a pretender. And that's
Yeah.
what something I learned. I used to be a pretender all the time. I could pretend I could do this, I could do that. No, be you, be integral, be honest, be authentic, and then people will see the real you regardless of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I feel that the major problem of that hold back people from being their authentic self is then when the people try to hide their weakness or
Mm,
something, like they feel that they're ashamed of, for example, if they say that if someone asks the question, do you know that thing or not, and if they don't they don't know about anything, they try to come up with something which they might not know, and that I think that would make them look more stupid than
mm,
even if they had accepted that they did not know. So I accepting the weakness is actually a strength, and
totally.
this is the when we realize that this is our weakness, and when we accept them, then I think we become authentically our own self.
Yeah, and I like that brings me to another really important point in who you are. Like, and I'm just going to tell you an example. Like, even though I work for myself, and but I do client work, and sometimes I will have to do psychometrics tests to
Yeah.
see will I fit in with the culture, and that's all well and good. I find them very interesting activities, by the way, in tests. But and they're usually pretty accurate, and I find them great learning, um, like activities for oneself. So I do recommend them, and I recommend one in particular called the Strength Finder. But anyway, I remember I was doing a project with a medical device company, and when I got my results, they said to me, "Look, we see that you're really good with risk and strategy," and I go, "Well, that makes sense because that's what I do." So yeah, and I love what I do, so I
Yeah,
should be good at it because I enjoy it and I love doing it. That's the key combination to be happy. Love what
yeah,
you do and serve others doing it, right?
yeah,
And they said there was opportunities to improve on um what was I can't remember the term, but it was all to do with my wording and my report writing. So do you know what they said to me? They said, "We'll send you on a report writing course." And I said, "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it." And I said, "No, you have to." And I said, "No, I won't." And I'm quite happy not to take the project if that's a deal breaker because I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to
yeah,
waste yours because I'll be the same level of report writing after it because I have my own style of reporting and like I like it and it's not maybe what they believe, but this is what I am and I won't do any differently. I said, "Why don't you put me on a risk or strategy course so I can be
yeah,
better at serving
yeah,
you and what you've employed me to do?"
yeah,
But and they didn't. I refused to
yeah.
do the report writing, but they didn't send me on that, and I just couldn't understand how they would misuse such a great tool.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something is really important um, to ex- uh, to accept that, if you don't, it's okay to let go of the opportunity,
Mm,
because if it's better not to do something which you don't know, rather than do something in a bad way, which will actually spoil your relationship, and give the really bad feeling to the clients and to others as well.
yeah.
So, anyways, I'm afraid that we are running out of time now, and it's we already overrun. So, before we finish the before we close this show, what advice would you give to our audience today?
Well, you said one word towards the end of the conversation there, which I believe is very important. Play to your strengths. Know what your strengths are and use them often. Use them as much as you can because that's who you are. And if you have people that work underneath you, and like encourage them to use their strengths as well, because you will get the best out of them. If you can apply their strengths to a business need, you will get results all the time and allow people be authentically themselves and encourage them. Don't try and put a round hole into a square box. Just don't. Allow people be authentically themselves and be authentically yourself too.
Yeah, I think that's the brilliant advice. One thing I was just wondering, like my chats are not visible. I don't know why. I think it's just like moving around. So if I think if you could see the chat or if you have any questions, just feel free to answer them. Somehow it's not appearing on my
No,
screen.
I've seen people saying thank you, lovely topic,
Okay,
and
that's good.
a few of our colleagues, Robert Barry. Hi, Robert. Great to see you here.
Good.
And yeah, so no, I think everyone's just saying thanks. It's a great topic.
Okay, that's good.
And but if anyone has any questions after,
Yeah,
please put them
please
in
feel
the
free.
comments
Yeah.
and I'll answer them.
Yeah, and please tell our audience that how they can reach out to you. Maybe like you have
Well,
your site, or maybe like they can just DM you through LinkedIn and your
LinkedIn,
IP.
connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm active enough on LinkedIn and I have a website called futurestateacademy.com where I do weekly blogs and there's a lot of really good information if you want to learn more about
Yeah,
what I
maybe you
do.
can
But
put it
please,
in the chat also. Somehow my chat
yeah,
is not working. I don't know
yeah.
why. So
Yeah, I'm
it's
not sure I can do it either, by the way. I can do it after the call. I can put
okay,
it in
maybe
there.
like after that, yeah, that would be much better. Somehow it's disabled at the moment. So otherwise, anyway, so whoever wants to get help from Shay, please reach out to him through LinkedIn, and we'll share the link of his website in the chat, in the comment box, so you can reach out to him. And whoever has joined today, please thank you so much for joining us, and hope you learned a lot from our discussion, especially the like discussion and the rich experience from Shay. So, and thank you so much for joining, Shay. You have been like the discussion was amazing. Even I learned a lot from you. So,
I'm happy to
thank you
hear
so
that. Thanks again for the
so
invitation. It was an honor to be here, Ambreen.
thank you so much, and take care and bye bye.